Hey good people, good friends of baking and pastry, Belgian Baker here. And what are we gonna do today? Today we're gonna make a chocolate mousse log. And the chocolate mousse log will be made out of 3 different types of chocolate mousse. So we will have white chocolate mousse, milk chocolate mousse and dark chocolate mousse. And inside we will have a layer of Nutella mousse. And all that will be covered with a nice shiny dark mirror glaze. And then we'll make some nice chocolate decorations for on top. And hopefully you're gonna like it. So we're gonna have a quick look what the ingredients are. And then I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the log, because there's a special twist to it as well. Okay, follow me to the ingredients. Ingredients are very simple. We got white chocolate, we got milk, we got whipped cream, and we got gelatin. In the milk I have done a little knife point of vanilla paste, but that's optional. That's something you can put in there or not, up to you. Okay, what's the twist to the log? I got here a nice silicone mold. That's a log mold, so that is what we would use in the kitchen, in a professional kitchen. And you guys can buy that, so there's nothing that forbids you to use this. But we're not going to use it today. I made my own log out of 2 water bottles and a little bit of cling wrap. And we're going to use that, and you will see how everybody can do it with just 2 bottles that you would normally throw away, and now just use it. Okay, so we're gonna proceed by doing the mousse. So what am I gonna do with the mousse is I'm gonna heat my milk. When the milk is just boiling, I will take it off the stove and I'm gonna put in my gelatin. You will see in my previous video, the one with the mirror glaze, how to bloom the gelatin. So you just put the gelatin, cold water, set it aside, and then it just stiffs up like that. So what am I going to do with the cream is bring it to a boil, but just boil. Don't let it bubble too much, just let it warm up and get to that really high temperature. Here we go. Milk almost boiling. I'm going to put in my gelatin so that can dissolve in that warm milk. And then give a good whisk so it completely dissolves. The gelatin will help your mousse to stay once you're gonna serve it. And then I'll put my chocolate in there. And so we're gonna let the chocolate feel the heat. And when it starts melting, we're gonna mix it. So I'm at 37, close enough for me. I'm gonna just stoke my cream out of the chiller. I'm gonna take a little bit of the cream, put it in here, and with the whisk mix it together. Just dissolve the cream really well, and that's going to cool it down a bit quicker. As you can see, it becomes quite thicker already. There we go. And then I'm going to put that on my cream. So 1/2. Alright, mix that so the cream becomes a little bit softer, like this, and then the other half. And then we gently mix that with the whisk so we can break down the lumps from the chocolate mousse. So at this stage you need to keep working. You cannot just leave it there, because your gelatin is going to start setting and then it's going to become too thick and you won't be able to pipe it or pour it in your mold anymore. So once you get there, you keep going till it's done. There we go. This is a nice mousse. Mix the last cream I have on here, like that, through it. spatula. So I have added a little bit of vanilla paste in it, really a little bit, the point of a knife, because I like the flavor of that little hint of vanilla in my white chocolate. But if you don't want to do that, that's pure optional, there's no written rule. So I'm pretty happy with this here. That's gonna go in there. So you can use a jug and pour it in there. I'm gonna use a piping bag. And like I'm by myself, it's pretty hard to hold my piping bag sometimes and clean my bowl. So what did I use? An empty soda bottle. Again, easy. Put my piping bag in there. And then I'm gonna pour my mousse in my piping bag. And so I can use my two hands and scrape everything that's in there in my piping bag. There we go. So you don't need a nozzle for this, just the piping bag like that. Take it out of there. There we go. And I'm gonna put my mold in front of me, like this. So I got a little bit thin, not thin, glad wrap on the sides as well, just to keep it in shape. And then I'm gonna give this a cup. And then I'm gonna fill the bottom without touching the sides. Okay, I just like that. There we go. I got a little bit left over, so what am I going to do with that? I just want to use a little ramekin and put it in there. That's a little extra dessert for me. There we go. So here is my log. I'm going to tap it, make sure there's air bubbles come out and it's nice and flat. And that's going to go in the freezer. And that's going to go in the freezer for an hour so that the gelatin can set and then it's nice and solid. And then we're going to make our chocolate, our milk chocolate mousse. We're going to put our Nutella insert that it's already made and is in the freezer in here. Then we're going to pour our milk chocolate. And then we're going to put it in the freezer again, dark chocolate, and then our sponge. So making the milk chocolate mousse and the dark chocolate mousse is exactly the same procedure as the white one. Okay, so my second mousse is made. Here is my log. The white chocolate mousse is very set. This goes here. Quick hand wash, because I don't want to make my white mousse and stuff dirty. Go. So always work fast, especially when it's warm like this. It's New Zealand summer, so okay, so I'm going to chop it off a little bit because it's a little bit too long. So I'm going to trim the sides a little bit like this. There we go. And that will go in here. A little bit side trim on this one. Go. And that's it. So you don't want it to touch the sides, it can have a little bit of a space in between. So we're cleaning this quickly. Because my mousse is setting and I want to be able to pipe it in there. So always have a clean bench, very important. So now we're gonna pipe our milk chocolate mousse in there. So you can reuse the piping bags. So I use a little clipper on the bottom, just wash it, because it's no use of throwing it out after using one mousse. And then we're gonna fill it up till it has the same height as the insert. There we go. A little bit left over. That gives me a little mousse again for dessert tonight. There we go. Tap it so there's no air bubbles. And that's gonna go in the freezer again. Same thing. We're gonna keep it in the freezer for an hour till it sets. And then we do this dark chocolate mousse. And then we're gonna fill it up with the dark chocolate mousse. The dark chocolate mousse, I do a little bit of a thinner layer because it's a bit bitterer. So you don't want it to overpower the other flavors. So I'll make the same recipe, but I'll just fill it up. And with the leftovers, well, I make little chocolate mousses. Kids can have it, you can have it, friends can have it. We don't throw it out. It's too much of a goodie to discard it. So this is going in the freezer, and I'll catch you for the dark mousse. Okay, so for our last mousse, I'm gonna do a little bit more of a close-up so you see a little bit better than from the two previous mousses. So this is exactly the same recipe. This is dark, very dark chocolate, 72%, very strong bitter taste. Exactly the same way of working as the other one. Same temperatures, everything. So we're gonna put a little bit of the cream in here. And then we're gonna temper the chocolate a little bit more. There we go. And then all this goes in there. So you see, it's very easy to make this mousse. And it's got an amazing flavor as well. So make sure you whip your cream quite solid, but not too hard, because otherwise it's going to be very hard to dissolve it. So you still want to have that smoothness. You see? So now here, I'm going to mix that. I'm going to keep mixing till the whole cream is dissolved. So you can see it's thickening. Dark chocolate will thicken quicker than the white one and the milk, because it's got a way stronger content of cocoa butter. So that makes it more solid. Here we go. So for this, I'm not going to use a piping bag. I'm going to put it in a jug. So you can see that works as well, because not everybody has piping bags at home or doesn't know where to find them. So we can just use a jug. The plan of doing these pastries is just using what you have in your pantry and in your cabinet. So, and that works. Here we go. Here is my frozen log. I got that one in the freezer. This is my Joconde, and I've cut some Joconde the size from this. This is gonna go as the very last bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna pour my dark chocolate mousse over here, and I'm gonna stay clear a little bit from the top. because that's where my sponge is gonna come. And it's okay if you have a little bit left over. This goes in a little ramekin. Nice dessert. You can even freeze it for another time, you know, so put it in little pots, freeze it for the kids or yourself or friends. So now we're gonna see if this fits. It's a little bit long, so we're gonna try to have the same size. Get a little bit off like that. You will also see the mousse is not as light or moussey as the mousse you will get in little pots, because this mousse needs to be strong enough to carry the weight of your log. Okay, so you see, here it is, nice and level. Done, and that's gonna go in the freezer. And we're gonna let that freeze till it's nice and solid. And then we're gonna finish it off with the mirror glaze. So my log has been in the freezer for overnight. And yeah, we're gonna finish it off now, but first we're gonna do a few little chocolate decorations so we can actually make it look a little bit nicer, okay? So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, and you will see it's very easy. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna make some chocolate feathers. For this I'm gonna use some compound chocolate. So that's the chocolate drops you can buy in any supermarket. Because if you want to use real chocolate, you're gonna have to temper it, and then you're in a whole other ball game. This is for people at home, and we just want to keep it simple but still effective. And these chocolate drops, if you buy a good quality, taste really amazing, and they're very easy to use. You just put them in here for a minute in the microwave. After a minute you wait a little bit, you stir them, and then you go 10 seconds, 20 seconds at a time, because you don't want to overheat them. So this one is melted, and you see we want it to be runny, but we don't want it to be too watery. It still needs to hold its shape. So this is very easy to do. So what I'm gonna do now, in the kitchen I would use acetate, but not everybody has acetate. So what I did is cutting the plastic from a packaging that has tortillas and stuff, so all that works. So to do this, I'm gonna put some spray. You can use water, but I like to use oil, it sticks better, on your bench. And then you're gonna stick that piece of acetate onto it. There you go. So that's not gonna come up. And then we're gonna use a knife. Try to have a knife that has a nice shape like this, because you got knives that are straight and then do this, it's not nice. So you want something that is nice and pointy. So what I'm gonna do now is take my chocolate and my knife, and I'm gonna put some chocolate on my knife like this. You see, all the way to here. Start somewhere halfway. And then I'm gonna tap the excess off, because I don't want too much. You see, and when you have like this, a nice shape, scrape the side. And then that is gonna go upside down on my acetate. So I gently put it down like this. Stick it there. And then lift it up like a millimeter or two. And come back. Like that. Next one. So you see, still have some chocolate. Just put a little bit more on it. Tap it to make it nice and flat. There we go. If it's too runny, it will not work. So that's why you want it to have a little bit of consistency. Like that. And here I go for my second one. Just stick it on here. Lift it up. And come back. If the tail is not long enough, you can always touch it a little bit. And bring it back like that. Okay. And then what I'm gonna do, I got like a little plastic thing here. I'm gonna lift it up while they're still soft and put them in that like this. So that's gonna give them a little bit of a rounded shape. Okay. And I'm just gonna let it sit like this. Okay. So the next one we're gonna do, I'm gonna take a plate, have some Glad wrap on top, and I cut a little piece of cardboard or paper or whatever, because what are we gonna do? When our log will be finished, we will have 2 pieces of chocolate standing like this on the side. So I measured my log so that I'm just passing all the edges, and I need to make that chocolate now. And I want to give it some design to it. So I'll grab another piece. Put it on this one, it's gonna stick to it, like that. And I don't want it to be even, I just want it to be wrinkled all around like this. You see, so you go to the side here, and then I wrinkle it up like that. There we go. Then I'm gonna take my chocolate, and I'm gonna pour that over it, like this. Okay. There we go. Then I'm gonna take a spatula, and I'm gonna spread it. We don't want to make the chocolate too thick neither. You don't want to have a big chunky piece of chocolate at the end. So I made it quite flat, like this. And make sure you make it big enough that we have 2, because we need 1 on each side. So we have that. Then you can tap it a little bit if you want. It makes it nice and flat. And now we're gonna have to wait till it sets a little bit. So my chocolate is set enough to cut. So how do I know that? I can see it's still a bit soft, but I can touch it and it's not sticking to my fingers anymore. But it still needs to be soft, you see? Because if you're gonna put it in the chiller to speed up the procedure, the whole chocolate is gonna become really cold and hard. And then when you're gonna cut it, it's gonna break. So now you see, it's still modeling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my little template on here, grab a little sharp knife, and then I'm gonna cut it following my template. You see? Like this. See, and it cuts easy. It doesn't stick to my knife. It is really easy to cut because it's a little bit like rubber. So we keep cutting, and then another one here. Here we go. So that's my first one. You see? And that's it. So now we're gonna put it in the chiller, and now we're gonna let it set in the chiller for a while so it becomes really hard. Now when we take it off, we're gonna have a nice solid chocolate square plate that we can put on the sides of our log, so we can make it look really nice and fancy. Okay, so now the next step, our chocolates are done, they're chilling, getting cold in the fridge. The next step is preparing our log, so we can have it ready for when we want to do the mirror glaze. So we'll grab the log, and here it is. That's what it looks like. Solid frozen. So it's time to reveal what we've done. So here is my knife in warm water, and that's going to help me to cut the frozen log. So I'll take that, dry the knife, and then I'm going to cut a nice straight layer. There we go. Last bits of plastic are coming as well. Can you see our layers? So that side is done. Next side, take a warm knife, dry it, and cut the other part. So the warm knife will help you cut the frozen log nice and smooth. And here we go. Nice layers again, you can see. This was some plastic, so we're gonna discard that. And that's our log, ready to have glaze on it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead with the rest of the log. It's been trimmed, it's been back in the freezer for an hour now, and it's like really cold, really where I want it. So we're gonna use a little bit of crumb on the bottom just to make it look nice as well. And what did I use for that? I used these ice cream cones. And what did I do with that? I throw them in here, blitzed them up, and then I mixed a little bit of that gold powder. You can buy that in any cake decorating shop, even online. It's not expensive and it's pretty effective. So we have this ready. Gonna put that on the side. My mirror glaze is at 32 degrees. That is what I want. I like to have my mirror glaze, it's 32.5, but by the time I'm finished it's gonna be where I want it. You don't want the mirror glaze to be too warm, because if it's too warm, it's gonna run off really fast and it's not gonna give a nice cover, and it's gonna be so thin that you might see the cake in between. Sometimes you might need 2 layers, because the top layer of my log is white chocolate mousse, so the white might maybe shine through. So we will see that once we do the covering. And yeah, 32, it's like working temperature for chocolate basically. So that's what we want, so that's easy to remember. So to put my log on, I had a little box here, sandwich bags. I wrapped it because I don't want to do any publicity stuff. Put some paper on it, and then I put some Glad wrap so it doesn't get dirty and full of mirror glaze. Okay, so mirror cling film, my little support. I'm gonna take my log, there we go, you see, like that. And then my mirror glaze, and I give it a mix. I'm just gonna use a palette knife because I gently mix it. I don't want to bring any air in there. I don't want these bubbles that, if I have air bubbles, they will come up afterwards, and when your mirror glaze is set, you will have little holes showing up in it. So that's not gonna be nice. Okay, so my mirror glaze is ready. It's nice and shiny, it's got the perfect temperature. Here we go. So just cover your log like this and make sure it's run everywhere. Here we go, on the sides as well. Have a look in the back, that looks really good. We're gonna wait a minute, let it set, so you can see how shiny it is. You can actually, it's like a mirror, I can see myself in there and all. You see, so yeah, pretty happy with the result. So I'm gonna wait like 2-3 minutes, let it set a little bit, and then I'm gonna give it a second layer just to be sure it's all completely covered, nothing is shining through, so it's gonna be nice. So we're gonna do the second part. Here we go, and make sure it covers that little bit. Yeah, here we go, and make sure you have enough to do the whole lot, because you don't want to stop halfway, and then you will see the difference between the 2 layers. Look at this, beautiful, beautiful. So now we're gonna wait for a little bit, and you can see the drips on the side, so we're gonna wait till it stops dripping. And then when it stops dripping, we're gonna use those 2 little sticks. And what am I gonna do with those sticks? I'm gonna put them in the side, like this, and go in there, like that. Give it a little push. There's no need to go all the way till the middle, just in there. Okay, so I'm gonna move this thing, so that's gonna give me a little bit more space to work. And that's where our crumbs come in play. So now we're gonna have our crumbs here, and we're gonna put that like this. I'm waiting, it's still dripping, so give it a minute. Don't rush things, because if you rush it, then it might end up not as nice as you hoped. So give it time, give it a little bit of love, and like I see, I can touch it, it stops dripping. So what I do then, I'm gonna do it like here so you can see it better. So what I will do is take my log with the two little sticks. Don't hold it on the back, you don't want it to drop it. And while you carry it, make sure you push a little bit because you don't want the sticks to come out. So what I'm gonna do, I lift it, make sure you don't drop it, and I put it in the middle of those crumbs. Here we go. And that's why I don't want to go too far neither with my sticks, because if I go too deep with the sticks and I come up, I will rip the side. So just enough so you see it lifts up. And now what I'm going to do is gently cover the bottom with my crumbs. Like that. Same thing on the other side. There you go. We don't worry too much about the outsides because we're gonna have those chocolates that we cut earlier on. They're gonna hide that. So that's also gonna help us to hide the holes from the sticks. Here we go. That's it. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a tray where I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna take that, make sure I don't drop it. And here it goes. Take my little sticks out. And then I'm gonna take a knife and just push gently against the crumbs. So to make sure they stick to my mirror glaze. There we go. So that's going to give the nice finishing on the side. So when people are going to see your mirror glaze log, you won't see where the bottom finishes. So that's going to cover up the sides, and then we're going to have those chocolates coming here. So now my log is going to go in the chiller, and it's going to stay there overnight because it's going to slowly defrost. I want to defrost the whole thing. Otherwise it says no, we can't eat it. It's not an ice cream log, it's still a mousse log. So we're going to put it like that in the chiller and leave it overnight so it can properly defrost. And then once it's defrosted, we're going to put our little sides on the top, a little few feathers. I will show you then how we make them look nice. And we will be done. Here are our chocolates. I call it one, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So when we've cut it, we take it off the chocolate tray like we did before, and you can see you can have that Glad wrap that I've shrunk all over it. Just gently peel it off like this. We don't want to break it because that would be a disaster. And you see, this is what it looks like. So be gentle with the chocolate because it breaks really quickly. And then here are our little feathers. That's why I made 6, because those things can break extremely quickly. It's very thin and thus very fragile as well. There we are. So now I'm gonna warm up a knife. The chocolate is very thin, so it's gonna melt really quickly. I don't want to hold it too long in my hands neither, because I got warm hands. And you see, we do this on the sides with the warm knife, and that creates this effect. Here we go. So I got 4. So what do I have here? I got my brush, and I got some of that edible gold. I got bronze as well. So what you're gonna do is just hold them like this and give them a gentle brush on that gold. And do it on the paper because my hands are really too warm. So like this. We don't want to do too much because you still have to be able to see the chocolate a little bit, you see? And it gives really a nice effect on it. There we go. You can use the bronze. I like gold on cakes and chocolate. I think it gets really effective. There we go. Here I took a little bit of both, a little bit gold, a little bit bronze, you see? And then we're gonna take the side, the big one, and we're gonna do the same thing. Just take some of that gold and brush it over like that. And you can see the parts where the Glad wrap was in the chocolate is gonna create like a pattern, you see? Nice. Look at this, how cool is that? See, just keep brushing it like that, and we can do a little bit bronze all over it like this. There's no rules, just to create that extra effect. You see, that's going to be the side of our log. Here he is. And so what we're going to do now, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it against there, and it's going to stick against the mirror glaze. I'll do the same on the other side. There we go. See? And now we can use the feathers like that. And another one here. Don't put them all in the same direction because you don't want them to be aligned like a military position. This is pastry. This still needs to look inviting. You see? And that one I'll put this away. Here we go. I'm gonna put it on a nice plate and then show you guys when we cut it what it looks like. Okay? Okay, here she is. Nicely presented on a black plate. So I'm gonna show you what the inside looks like. So we're gonna take one piece off. It makes it easier to cut it and to show you guys what it's actually looking like in the middle. So we're gonna give it a cut like this, and move that to the side like this. And this is what your log is gonna look like. So yeah, I'm very happy with the result. Now the final test. So here we go. What is the verdict? This is amazing. This is so good. Perfect. So well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really hope you're gonna try it, and if you try it, write some comments below. How did you like it or not? And please also subscribe so I can keep doing these things. And you see, this is all made with recycled stuff, like just a plastic bottle. There's no professional equipment. And also every component from the log always relates back to another video. So you get all these videos showing you these all different components, so that makes it more easy to make it. Okay, So I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I really hope you get something out of it, and that everybody finds the love of dessert, because man, it's so good. Okay? See you in my next video.